From the snowy mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by CHIVE Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by donating to CHIVE Charities today. You can find them on our website. Maureen St. Germain has over 25 years of experience in the area of mystical and sacred traditions. Known as the Practical Mystic, and she's pretty enough for that title, Maureen is a prolific teacher and facilitator of spiritual knowledge for contemporary life. As a clear channel from source, she is continuously researching, developing, and introducing new methods that will help you connect with your own wisdom channel and inspire your spiritual awakening. Maureen's website is MaureenSt.Germain.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Maureen St. Germain, it's been a while since we had you on the show, but we're sure glad to have you back here tonight. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and I'm glad to hear you are too.
Well, finally.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel better. Yeah. I have had a cold for just over a week, and I think I'm in the home stretch now. I'm very excited about this.
Well, as we were talking about before we went on the air, there are some hidden benefits to some of this crazy bronchial stuff that so many people are going through.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Maureen, you're someone who has kind of looked into the spiritual knowledge side of absolutely everything. How did you get started in this field?
I was born awake. I didn't know that other people couldn't do what I could do. I remember as a child being observed by beings that were not earthly. I wasn't afraid. Some were benign and some weren't. When I was a teenager, I was reading books like the Edgar Cayce story and that kind of stuff, Lives of the Saints, when I was 10. My mother hid the book because it was gold leaf and she didn't want it to get messed up. And I remember thinking, it's not in the bookcase where it's supposed to be. I wonder where it is. And immediately saw in my head where it was. And it was on a tall shelf in a closet. So I went and got a kitchen chair and climbed up on the chair, got the book, put the chair back, got the book out and read it. And when I was done, I put it back in the bookcase where it belonged. My mother never hid it after that.
So this is something that has been right with you since the beginning, your own intuition. And you know, growing up like that is always, I hear all these stories about how difficult it is for people, Maureen, as children, because they don't know they're different. They just are. And did you feel that as well?
No, I knew I was different because I was so sensitive. And that was very painful because, you know, everything upset me. But at the same time, both my parents were very plugged in themselves. And my mother especially. So they even, you know, as a teenager, I think when I was in college, they gave me a book that was autographed by Jose Silva at the course they had gone to together. Now, they weren't overtly practicing what you and I might call New Age spiritual stuff. They were devout Catholics. But my mother was psychic enough that my dad would go to these things with her if she asked him to. So, and he also had gifts. He told me that one of the things they learned in that course was how to, you know, scan the body. And he decided after he learned how to do it, not to do it ever again, because one of the people in the class he was asked to scan had cancer. And he knew she didn't know it. And he didn't want to tell her.
Oh, that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that actually brings up a good...
Big responsibility, yeah.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. When you're intuitive and you have that type of ability where you can scan someone's body and pick up a disease like cancer or something along those lines, there's a real fine line there on whether or not you should actually tell the person. Because, there is the chance you're wrong, number one, but number two, is it really your place?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I've had situations where family members were at risk at various situations. And the way I operate, as you know, I use my higher self. And so when stuff like that happens and I'm seeing something that looks unpleasant, I will check in and ask, am I to say anything? And there was an incident that, excuse me, I wrote about in the book, Waking Up in 5D, where my husband, who is a fire investigator, actually, I saw him being taken out in an industrial accident, and we're not talking out on a date. We're talking like death, and I couldn't get my arms around it well enough to know if, like you said, was I making it up? Or was I just concerned because he was, investigating a fire on a ship? Or, but the vision kept coming and it wouldn't seem to leave. So I finally spoke to one of my team members. And, everybody on my team is expected to learn how to connect with their higher self. Even my former assistant from 5 years ago, who worked for me for 5 years, I spoke with her the other day because I'm so good friends with her. And I said, are you still using your higher self? Now, she's not one of us. She's not one of me, anyway, or one of the kind of people I am. But she learned how to do this because I asked her to learn it. And she said, yes. And she said, I asked my higher self about him, referring to her fiancé. And that's how I knew it was okay. And I thought that was so sweet. So going back to my story, when I confided what I was seeing to one of my coworkers, she said, I am so grateful you said something because I've been seeing the same thing. So then I went to the altar and asked, am I to say something? Because, like you say, who am I to tell this, even though it's my husband, who am I to intervene? Who am I to, step in? And by the way, there are real stories of people who have been given visions. And, for example, the woman who, and this is in the Casey material, she saw a vision of her husband getting in this car accident, and she could tell when it was, and I could certainly tell when this thing was happening to my husband. So she could tell, so she chose to drive him to the event he was going to go to instead of having him take the car, thinking that she would avoid the accident if she was the driver. And what happened is the accident happened a few days later. And my approach is always from a place of reverence. We need to accept that we are powerful, but that we are part of a bigger system. And when we do that, then we want to ask permission, or is it acceptable or appropriate to say something? So that night in bed, after I'd gotten clearance to say something, I said to my husband, are you going back to that fire scene? Because they would work straight for 4 weeks, and then they'd take 2 weeks off, and then they'd come back and do it again. And without skipping a beat, he said, well, if you told me not to go back there, I wouldn't go. So I told him my story. And he said, tomorrow morning, will you open the Akashic records for me? And I said, sure. Now, this is my way of thinking. I'm thinking he's probably going to ask me can we mitigate it? Can we avoid it? Is it my time to go? All those kind of questions. I don't know what you would be asking, but what he said when we opened the records was, what caused the fire? And out of my mouth came the following. The record keepers were speaking. There were actually 2 fires. One was a decoy, and the other one was the explosion. The one with all the smoke was to hide the fact that there were a couple of murders that they were covering up.
Oh, goodness.
And it turned out it was a merchant marine mafia, and that the man who was taken out had tried to pull a fast one on the system, thought he got away, and it turns out that over half the crew members on the boat were onto him. And, this came through before I would, I don't censor my work when I am in the records. But at the same time, there are times that information comes through and you go, what the heck? And when that happened, that's exactly how I felt. I thought, oh, my goodness. And I'm trying to think. I think we'd only been married a little bit of time, maybe a couple of years. And I didn't know if he knew who I was for real. You never know these things. And when that came out of my mouth, I kind of leaned back. I pulled myself out of the records, and I said, oh, I don't know where that came from. Nobody died, did they? And he said, actually, 3 people died.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a whole lot more to that story, so if somebody wants to know, they have to buy the book and read it. But there are times that information that you don't want to deliver comes through, and you check in. And I've had other instances where I was given visions and asked, could this be mitigated? And I figure as long as I'm not told no, I'm going to try and, do something to fix it. And then to tell the person, the family member, and find out later that as a result of them having that information, they did their usual pattern, and then they chose to do something different. And it was that moment when they stepped off that timeline. Very powerful. Very, very powerful. So you can change your future. But I did not do it without prayer. I did not do it without seeking the authority from on high and asking for help. Right. And then, all of that. And it still was up to the free will of the person involved, because that person could have ignored that message. They could have, whatever. But it came down to when that moment came, that memory of the message came through. He, was remembered. And so the family member decided to do something different than his normal routine, and everything changed. The issue was completely pulled off the table. Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredible. Very incredible. Mm-hmm.
Maureen, when you get visions or when people open up psychically or intuitively for the first time, let's focus on the people who open up for the first time here for a second. How do they know this is actually happening to them, that what they are seeing is logical and not some fantasy or daydream?
They don't. That's why it's so scary and annoying at the same time, because you feel like you can't control it and you ought to be able to. And at the same time, you wonder what the heck's going on. A lot of people who are given a green light, or they're, something shifts, and they don't have any reason to expect that they're now going to be able to see into higher realms. They don't have a point of reference. So those people really do need to get into classes somewhere with somebody who is teaching these skills so that they can learn how to manage it and operate it. It's like you could be a natural at golf, but you still take lessons. You still learn everything that's known, and it just so happens that when you touch that golf club, it's gold in your hands. So, one of the things I teach in the Akashic Records training is markers. And the markers definitely show that you're in the records. And they help a person identify, okay, we're in the records. That's cool. Because it is difficult to know for sure. And no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, you still think you're making it up. And the only way you can know for sure you're not making it up is when you move to reading for others and the person stops you and says, how could you know that? And there's a number of different kinds of responses. One time when I saw a woman fussing with her life vest, and I didn't know that she wasn't somebody who was interested in this line of work. I found out later that one of her good friends had insisted that she have a session with me. At the end of the session, and the record keepers told her, you don't have to fuss with your life vest anymore. When you get on your boat, you're safe. You will never have a problem. So at the end of the session, well, first of all, she's kind of like, well, how did you know I even had a boat? And I started to laugh and said, I didn't know you had a boat. That came from the record keepers. I'm just a conduit here. Because a lot of people think it's me. And in that moment, with the clear intention to be moving energy from the Akashic records through your consciousness and deliver it to somebody unfiltered, that is a skill that we develop, just like you develop a skill to play the piano, or you develop a skill to be on the radio and to be a radio personality, because it takes attention to what you're doing and paying attention to what seems to be off or not right. So at the end of the session, she said, I don't even believe in reincarnation. And but if I did, how did I die in my last life? Well, the answer was obvious. It was so obvious to me and in the records that I stopped and checked in again and said, am I to tell her this? Because she seemed pretty upset that I knew she had a boat, And I was told, yes, you can tell her. And, of course, she gasped. And then the record keeper said to her again, look, you were told at the beginning of this reading, when you go back and listen, you are safe. You will never have to go through this again. And since then, I have worked with people who have drowned multiple times, punishment, accidents, self-annihilation, and then they go through it one more time. And I worked with a family that had this happen, where the mother was swimming, and she would have been a grandmother, so, she had adult children and grandchildren, and she was swimming and was rescued, but they didn't expect her to live more than a couple of days. And I have resources. So we work with people who are good at clearing work. And I used to do clearing work for my clients and made a decision that I would work with people that only did clearing work, that were doing it for me, and focus on what I was really good at, and then refer people to these other resources. And what happened as a result of that very specialized clearing work for the mom, who was in the hospital for a couple of days, is that she lived for 10 more days than they expected her to live. And everyone had a chance to say goodbye. Everyone had a chance to interact with her. And as the family member who had asked me to work on her wrote me after she passed, it was so much more peaceful than it would have been if she had gone right away. And we are so grateful for everything you did.
That's a beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful story. For yourself, when you have these extreme visions of people who are having health problems or people who are having some sort of illness, what do you see? How does this come to you when you look at a person?
Those things are not frequent for me. I don't consider myself someone who is reads the body for health purposes. I do read the body for health purposes when I'm asked or when the vision comes unexpectedly. There are specialists who focus on that kind of work, but that's not what I do. And although, I get pulled into it on occasion. So how does it look? Each incident is different, but for me personally, all of them have come in the early morning hours, right before I wake up. So I'm actually having a lucid dream because I'm aware of myself observing a scene. So I'm not dreaming that I'm in a dream. I'm actually observing a scene in front of me. And I find that I talk to people. Like one time when I saw something that was very obvious what it was, I asked, specifically, is this related to me? And, then questioned further along. I'm deliberately being very obtuse here, not telling you what I was actually seeing because I don't want to give the story away. But what happens is in a lucid dream, you're able to interact with the information that's being presented, and you can ask questions. So you're aware that you are observing a dream, but you're not really dreaming. You are interacting with a vision, and you're usually being guided. So the guides come in and answer your questions. So that's basically how I get my highly accurate information. But then there's other times that I get information quite spontaneously, not seeking it, like the time I was looking for something in my closet, and all of a sudden I could hear the song, "Get Me to the Church on Time," a sweet song. And I go running down the stairs, and I said to my husband, "My son Randall is getting married when he goes to Hawaii." And he looks at me and says, "Did he call you?" "Oh, no." "How did you know?" "Well, I heard this song, but I got the whole picture. The song came in, I started singing with it, and I got the whole picture." And then to be playful, I had figured out that because the situation was second marriage for one of them, they didn't really want to make it a big deal. So I called my son's father, and I told him. I said, "Have you talked to him lately?" And he said, "No, but I talked to one of his brothers, and I think they're going to get engaged when they go to Hawaii." And I said, "No, that's not what's going to happen. They're getting married when they go to Hawaii." And he said, "How do you know that?" And I said, "You know how I know this." So it was like a little running family joke. So when it came out,
right,
his father, we're all on really good terms. So his father wrote this very funny email. "Your mother was only a half a step ahead of me, blah, blah, blah." And it was great fun. So, these visions aren't always about dire circumstances. Sometimes they're about fun things, And I had an incident where another family member was making a plan for doing something, and he said, he mentioned two of his brothers were going to come and help him. And I said, "That's so cool that the other brother," and I called him by name and said, "is coming to help you." And he said, "No, he's not coming." And the following day he called me and said, he bought a ticket. He's going to come and help.
Oh, my goodness. Maureen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to open up the doors to the Akashic Records, see what they're all about. MaureenSt.Germain.com if you want to check out her website as well. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone. This is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Great to have all of you tuning on in. Wanted to remind all of you that if you check out our free archives on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, the only thing we ask for in return is you hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can check those out during the show. Tonight we are talking with Maureen St. Germain. Spiritual knowledge is the hot button topic tonight. We're going into the Akashic records here. Maureen, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
I want to ask you, for a lot of people, including myself out there, we're not very familiar with the Akashic records. We may have heard of it, but we're not quite sure what they are. Could you define it for us?
Yes. You could call it the library of all the actions we've ever taken, past lives, and all the potential futures that we are contemplating. So when you're looking at cars, for example, and you haven't decided between a Volvo and a Mercedes, you know, both of those are going to show up in the records until you make that decision. It doesn't predict your future. It doesn't hold on to a action that you started and didn't finish. So the records are living. And what that's like is the movies that we've seen where somehow people tap into another version of themselves of the past, or like Back to the Future, that movie from a long time ago. And we're able to see. And in order to benefit humanity, the Akashic records were opened from not just shamans and mystics, but anyone could access this data set. And the reason behind that was because humanity is moving to a new era. We're moving to a new age where we're going to be caring about our neighbor as much as we care about ourselves. And so we're evolving. You know, I often say to people, our spirituality has not kept pace with our technology. So we're making this big leap. And I like to make metaphors for people. So when you take a certain kind of chemistry exam or other kinds of high-tech exams, they let you bring your calculator. They let you bring the tables or from the book. So when you access the Akashic records, you have the answer key of what's really going on. You still have to choose. You still have to practice free will. You still have to make the choice to, do the high-minded thing. But what happens is when you have all of the data in front of you, it's a lot easier to make the ideal choice.
Can anybody access these?
Mm-hmm. Anybody can do it. I have people in the classes that absolutely are in there for a lark, and they are sure that they won't be able to do it. And they get in. And it's different from just channeling information, because this dispensation that was created to assist us to catch up, so to speak, with our technology, makes the equivalent of a Stargate or a portal from where we are, either third, fourth, or fifth dimension, to the higher dimension of the 11th dimension where the Akashic records reside. There are some people who say that the Akashic records are in our DNA. And when I went back to the records and said, look, this is a very well-known person, very well-respected, why would that be said? Why would that person say that? And I was told, well, it's like the local library is your DNA. That this main library is the main deal, and that's in the 11th dimension. So there are records that exist in the person's consciousness, but the full content of information is in the 11th dimension.
11th dimension.
Yeah.
That's hard to fathom.
It is. Not only that, but if you and I could fathom it, we wouldn't understand it. Just like, a 3-year-old doesn't understand the allure of a rock concert. Maybe a 3-year-old would, I don't know. I haven't had a 3-year-old around in a while, but the idea is that there is a big leap from where we are to these higher dimensions, and they become more ethereal. So there's less tangible stuff that we can relate to, and so that makes it difficult. In olden times, the shaman would tunnel through each of the dimensions sequentially to get to that place. We're given a free pass, and we just, we show up at the portal, and we go in, and we go to that threshold of the Akashic records. Now, Edgar Cayce was probably the most well-known American psychic of the last century. And when he started channeling, he didn't know what he was doing, and he wasn't trying to be a channeler or anything. He lost his voice and couldn't seem to find a way out of it, and it went on for a year. And he owned a photography store, and he was really stuck because he was working in sales. He had somehow fallen into a trance somewhere, and then the people that tried to help him, he gave them remedies and instructions on how they could get better, and then he woke up and he didn't even know what had happened. So word had spread, and a well-known hypnotist found him and said, look, I think I can help you. I'd like to know if you'd be willing to let me hypnotize you and see if this authority that comes through you, this voice that comes through you, could tell us what's going on for you. Well, they did that, and his voice was back instantly. So word spread, and he began to channel this information. And what's even more amazing is he was a devout Christian, and he did not even believe in reincarnation. But over the course of time, the readings were very clear, not only about other people having past lives, but then when he would do readings on himself, he was told that who he was in past lives. And in his case, he was a unconscious channel, meaning he had no recollection of the information that would come through him when he awoke from the trance. And so he always had someone scribing it. In my case, and in more modern cases, we're learning how to stay conscious, stay in our body, stay present, and hold that space out there. So we're literally able to have our consciousness in two places, kind of like remote viewing. You have your consciousness in two places.
Right.
So, it's like a wild concept, but we know it's true because we have evidence of it, and it's the same kind of idea.
So when we access this higher self, this higher consciousness, whatever it may be, and we move our soul into two different levels and so on. I mean, how can I put this in layman's terms?
Well,
there's a lot of people there's a lot of people out there who do not believe this is possible.
Okay, so I'll give you a simple way to see that it's possible to see, for example, with your left brain and your right brain at the same time. And that's essentially what you're doing. Take an O-ring or, a circle of any kind. It even could be a rubber band if it's stiff, or even your hand. You could make a circle with your two hands together. And you look at an item with one eye closed, and then you look at it with your other eye closed, and you move back so that this item you're looking at is in the center. And you keep doing that till each eye can see the object. And then you open your eyes and you get that shape known as the vesica piscis, and you can actually see from both your left eye and your right eye at the same time. And you're not cross-eyed. You're actually registering from both eyes at the same time. Very powerful. It's the easiest thing is like an O-ring or a rubber gasket or something like that, because it'll hold its shape, and you can focus on one thing and you keep moving it to the left and the right till whether you open one eye or the other, this object is still in there, and then you can slowly open your eyes and you'll see the circle now is two, because your right eye is seeing the circle and your left eye is seeing the circle, and they're superimposed upon each other.
Do we leave our body during this?
No. I've done it with audiences where I've handed out those fun neon things, that you can make circles or bracelets out of. Everybody snaps them together, and they're all bright. We turn the lights on, and we say, okay, focus on something on the stage. And then, keep moving until you can see it with your left eye open and with your right eye open. And you keep doing that till you get to the point where you got both. The object is in the circle, in whether you're looking in your right eye or left eye, and then you open both eyes, and you can see two circles, not one. And you're actually looking at it from your left brain and your right brain at the same time. It's a marvelous exercise.
Are we meeting Maureen, are we meeting anybody, like any type of entities to take us into the Akashic Records?
That's a good question. And I wanted to clarify something when you said the higher self or all these other energies.
Okay.
The higher self is a person's personal conduit to their divine connection. So everyone has a higher self, and everyone's higher self is the fastest way to get your connection to source. So you're connected to this, it's like the transformer on your laptop. You have this thing that steps down the energy before it goes into your computer. And that's exactly how your higher self works. It's connected in a bigger way to source, and that energy would be too big for us in our human little bodies. It's also aware of everything else around us, so that higher self connection is very important. And I have a special technique that I teach about that. So I'd like to circle back to that in a minute. But I'd also like to answer your question, and that has to do with, we do work with Akashic Records guides, and we don't go into the records because you accurately intuited that wouldn't be a good idea, because it'd be like a circular argument in a spreadsheet. You have you in the records looking at the person that murdered you in your last lifetime, and then you realize that's your spouse. You're going to have a reaction. Then that gets recorded in the records, so it's not a good idea. You would never want to go into the records, into this zone where this resource exists. So we work with record librarians, and it's a little bit more like working with a research librarian. They bring the book to you, they tell you where you're going to find what you want, and then you have to leave without the book. You don't get to take the book home. But it's living. So what that means is it could change in an instant. There's a scene in that movie, Back to the Future, where Michael J. Fox is looking at his family photo while his mom is trying to grab him and make out with him because she thinks he's a cute kid. And his picture, his face is disappearing off the family photo in real time.
Yes.
So that's what it's like. So that's why we go to the threshold of the Akashic Records, and the record keepers meet us there. And when a person schedules a reading, or when they have a reading, what happens is the minute you decide you want to have a reading with somebody, the record keepers then start to collect information that you may need or that you may be looking for. And it's a little bit different than the way a medium works, because a medium, it's all random, and nobody knows for sure who's going to get called on in the audience and stuff like that. But with a reading in the Akashic Records, that data is being collected for you. Now, my lineage is the only lineage that does this. There are plenty of Akashic Records lineages. There's plenty of Akashic Records teachers out there. But in my lineage, I was taught by my guides, not by an outside teacher, to start with what I call opening remarks. And so the people that have been trained by me know that they are to deliver the information as a download before the client ever gives them anything besides their name. We take their name, we write down the date, they open the records for this person, and then they give them a download. The download might be 2 minutes, it might be 20 seconds, but it's information, unsolicited, that the client needs. And what's so amazing is so many times the client will say, "You've answered all my questions. I don't know what to talk about." Because the data is being collected as you make the decision to do that kind of work. Secondly, anyone can do this and learn how to do it, and it's not hard to learn. It does require effort. It does require practice, but so does playing the piano. And it's a lot easier than learning how to play the piano. I can tell you that.
Try playing guitar. It's terrible.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes. Well, I can understand that, and I can understand how you think there's simplicity to do this. Do we have to meditate to get to that place? And how do we know when we're there?
Traditionally, there's more than one way to get in the records, but most of us who are teaching people how to open the records are using a protocol that is a simple prayer that they recite and invoke the presence of the connection. And then this goes into this whole thing where I have markers. And I tell people they're looking for the markers. One of them is what I call the soundless sound. So when you're in the records, this white noise that enters your head is profound. It's like the white noise when a station goes off the air. Not everyone has it, but enough people have it that I'm able to say this is one of the markers you might have. Other people have what I call pressure on the chest. That marker, you're in the records. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't like anybody's hurting you, but it's kind of like someone who loves you who presses on your chest. It's just comforting. Some people feel a pulse. And there's another kind of marker that I call the hammock effect. And that marker comes from the feeling you get of being so treasured and loved when you open the records. And I have had many students say to me, I like going to the records every day because I like that yummy feeling. It stays with me all day. That doesn't happen in normal conversation. And finally, one of the easiest ones to notice is the way they speak to you. They will use your vocabulary, but there are times that you don't know what it means. So you might have heard a word, you might have it in your noggin somewhere, and you're able to write it, but then you read the sentence and you go, I don't know what they're talking about. It happened just last week in a class where a woman used the word. She says, I don't know what that word means. Is that a word? Yes, that's a word. And we explained to her what it meant. She had no idea. So information like that will come through that has a quality to it that is so loving and nurturing that you feel cherished and loved. That's why I call it the hammock effect, because you feel like you're in a hammock, and you're being held closely, like, baby bunting. And this way of speaking to you is also very noticeable, because not only are they using vocab that you have but you don't use in daily language, they're using it in a way that I refer to as lofty language. We all think of a New York loft as an apartment with tall ceilings that has a loft at 6 foot where the bed or some other playroom or something is set up. So when I call the language lofty, what I'm really saying is it has a quality of elegance to it and a quality of wisdom that we don't often invoke in our everyday talk. And they often say things like dear one or something like that. So there's little hints that come along. And a lot of times people think they can't do it. And then they do the process and they're stunned. I have a student in Hong Kong right now who said to me, I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was just so frustrated. I decided to translate all the questions that you gave me into my mother tongue. And the answers flowed like water. I could hardly write that fast. And then I translated them all back into English so that you could grade me.
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's quite amazing. Yeah.
We only have about just under 3 minutes here left with you before we got to go to break. at the top of the hour. Maureen St. Germain is our guest. As we open up our own Akashic records, is it just positive that we see, or are we going to see much along the lines of the bumps in the road and the trials and tribulations as well?
It's a great question. The record keepers always present all the information with a positive light. So even if you made a dumb move and you asked in the records, what can be known about the fact that I walked out on my job? They would say, you could have done better, but, it's you might want to go back and apologize, blah, blah, blah. And they would say, you needed to do it, but you could have been kinder. They're not going to be talking to you like your mom would, or your spouse might, but they're going to tell you those things. They're not necessarily going to predict anything in the future, because it's not about prediction. It's about soul growth. I'll leave you with a cliffhanger. A great story about a man whose adult daughter, wasn't treating him right, even though he'd been a very good father and was very devoted and was a spiritual man himself. And I'll tell you what the record keeper said after you do our break.
Well, we do have like a minute 20 left.
Oh, good. Well, then I can finish it.
Okay, good.
So the record keepers told him that she and he had been adversaries in an earlier lifetime, and that he had gone on to grow his spiritual awareness and his spiritual connection, and she had not. And in this lifetime, he had agreed to sponsor her, and she still saw him as her adversary. And then they said, so this, the answer to the question, why was his daughter so obnoxious to him? Because he was so good to her. And that was the answer. And the second thing they said was, love her anyway, and it will take a few years. Now, as a parent, when your child is being obnoxious to you, you don't think about anything other than, when is this going to stop? Right? You don't want your kid to treat you badly.
No way. No way. That hurts when that happens.
Exactly. And if it went on for days and days or years, you'd really think, what did I do to create this? And the answer was, he didn't do anything. He chose to help her.
Right.
And they told him, treat her like you would any other daughter, presents at Christmas or Easter or whatever you would do for her birthday, and pay no mind to her inappropriate behavior. Just ignore it. Love her anyway.
Maureen, I'm going to cut you off right there because we are going to get ready to go to break here at the top of the hour. MaureenStGermain.com is Maureen's website. Up next, we're going to continue with the Akashic Records, and we're going to get into some sacred geometry on Spaced Out Radio in hour number 2. Stay tuned.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nanization. Nanization is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and so much more. Tonight, we are talking with Maureen St. Germain. We are talking about the Akashic Records. We're going to get into spiritual knowledge. We're also going to touch on some sacred geometry as well in this hour. Maureen's website, MaureenStGermain.com. If you want to check it on out, highly suggest you do. Maureen, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When you are looking up your own Akashic records, does that include contact with the paranormal or extraterrestrial as well?
It could. It's more likely that you're going to be interested in or asking about whatever's going on. But if you had an ET experience, then they would definitely be able to give you the lowdown on what was going on. I had a client in Japan who said first thing out of her mouth was, "Where did I come from?" And when I told her, the answer just rolled out of my mouth, and I looked at her and she said, "That's exactly what I told my mother when I was 6 years old." So there are connections. There are contacts. Other people that I've worked with have had what I would call ET ship visits, and they're aware that they're being communicated with, and in the records that gets validated. But remember, we're not talking about prediction. So whatever is being offered is only by reviewing or revealing the full story around something that has already occurred.
So if you are somebody who is an ET contactee, would that be the records whether or not you signed up for that?
I personally don't believe there would be anybody who's an ET contactee that didn't sign up for that. So,
okay.
It's not like you can say, I didn't sign up to have a car hit me. Maybe that's true, but an ET contactee is big, and it's a big deal. And many of those people go through what I would call hypnosis or past life hypnosis and regression, and they find out who they are or who they were, and then they're able to make sense out of their ET contacts. And there are specialists that do that. You know, there's a well-known author, good friend of mine, Barbara Lamb, who's written extensively on the hybrids, for example, and what they're bringing into the world. So, I don't think that the Akashic Records would reveal something. Well, let's put it this way. Whatever they reveal, it's always for your benefit, always to help you make better decisions. So when you look upon it that way, there's really nothing that they wouldn't reveal. Even like I described earlier when we were chatting, even if you've behaved badly, they're not going to chastise you. They're simply going to remind you could do better next time. That's not hard to take, you know. Nobody's yelling at you.
What about past lives?
A lot of times past life information does come through. And again, there are specialists who focus on past lives. I made a decision personally that I wasn't interested in doing past life work for people unless it was situational for them to improve their life. So if someone had been told by another seer, well, they said I was Cleopatra in another life, and I want to know if that's true, I might not have access to that information because I asked for it to be limited. And the reason I did that, this was a personality decision on my part. I only want to help people grow. I'm not interested in this work for the sake of entertainment. And I'm not interested in satisfying someone's ego. I'm interested in helping them grow. So I asked if somebody was asking a question for their own, aggrandizement. I don't want to know the answer. I don't want it to be able to see it. And that's what happened. It just disappears. It's not there. It just doesn't come to me. Yeah.
Question coming from Hodorok in our Space Travelers Club. He is asking, why do so many of us see the ET contact as unwanted and frightening then?
So many people feel that way because they've been indoctrinated to think that they're only human. They've been led to believe the lie that Earth is all there is. They've not been given a chance to explore other possibilities. There are people who can stand next to an ET and hear the way the ET interacts and not be frightened. But most people would be, because it is so different from the way you and I act and interact. This is going to sound wild, but I've been teaching in China for the past 5 years. And even their culture, which has been so closed to the West, their culture is so dramatically different than ours that I have to make a mental shift when I go so that I can be a good teacher there, because their way of thinking is dramatically different from ours. And so you can imagine if you're around something that's completely unfamiliar, how it might frighten you because you're not expecting that. You've not been, if you grew up in a family where, talking about ghosts or grandma came to visit me last night or stuff like that, this wouldn't bother you so much. But if you grow up in a family that thinks that this is all there is what you can touch and feel, that's going to scare the bejeebers out of you. So
yes,
I think it's normal to be afraid. I think that's very normal. But the minute you know it's true, the minute you, in your own awareness, say, you know what, there's something to this. There's something here that I don't understand. I know it's real. That person is going to be far more available to ET contact than somebody that grew up without that awareness. I know a number of people who have seen ET ships when they were children. And because of that, they have a big interest in the ET connection. They have ET contacts. They are a contactee. But that doesn't frighten them because they saw it when they were a child. Children don't have biases. We learn to close down, and we learn to believe what our parents have taught us to believe. You know, child is a wide open book. They don't have these belief systems that we instill upon them.
Very true. Very true. So, with that being said, and the fact that so many people are having ET contact, if it is in our Akashic records, I still find it a little bit difficult to try and understand why then we have so much difficulty in accepting that it's happening or happened, and yet we've allegedly signed on to this with our our pact before we came to this planet.
Well, I think we have to back up a little and say that our current society in North America has sequestered a lot of information that if we were to have it, we would find this more normal than we do. Right. We only see people interacting with ETs in the movies. We don't think that that's normal. We just, we know it's a make-believe story when we see it in the movies. So if our society had allowed for the release of visitations early on, then it would be considered normal. It wouldn't be a big deal. We would tolerate it. We would accept it. Look at all the things that we didn't accept 50 years ago that we do now. Gay marriage, rap music, all those things didn't exist. And yet today, we're totally okay with that stuff. We're allowing, or, some people are just tolerating. But most of us are in a place of allowing. If it's our thing, we're all for it. If it's not our thing, we don't mind. We have no attachment. And so we have not allowed the ET interaction experience to become normal yet. But we're well on our way. There's been surveys done of, what people believe. And even like the Gallup polls, ask the question, do you believe in ETs, or do you think there are ETs that it's possible to have for the existence of ETs? In other words, is there anything else out there besides us? And the percentages are over 80% of people that believe that. Now, to what degree? Who knows? Would they be scared? Probably. But I've seen people jump when a little tiny gecko walks in front of them because they're not seen it before and they don't know what it is.
Okay, yes. Got a couple questions coming up here. One from Skywatcher here, who is asking if the Akashic records for you contain the past lives of the spirit you, how could they possibly be contained in your DNA, which is dependent upon your physical lineage?
Exactly so. And that was my question in the records as well. That's why when this well-known spiritual leader said that they were, I went back in the records and asked them. And they said, your DNA holds your local records. That means whatever's going on right now might not even be all the way back to the beginning of your birth. Your local records could be, the past 2 years. I don't know. But the main library is the main place of the Akashic records, which is the 11th dimension. So his comment is well placed. I agree with him.
All right. Let's get back to another question from Hotterock as we talk about past lives. Do people who have past lives gravitate towards each other then?
What happens when you meet up with someone that you have worked with before is you have a feeling of familiarity. Depending upon the degree of the connection in past lives will drive the connection. And I'll give you an example. This is a very common example between men and women. A man or a woman who is happily married will meet someone that will totally influence them, so much so that they will fall in love outside of their marriage. And they will be deeply in love with this third person. And they have this nice connection. They have interests that drive the relationship forward. They feel like they know each other. They may have intimacy, but in almost all cases, the record keepers will tell the person, this outsider is to move you forward faster, to influence you to be authentic. Because when you're happily married and an outsider comes along and you suddenly feel a bigger connection than you thought you had with your beloved, you want to be real. You don't want to fake anything because you don't need to. You already have everything you could possibly want in your happy marriage. So what happens is there a stimulus, or a catalyst is probably the better word. This outsider is a catalyst to the individual to step up and to work harder, to get more done than they would have being comfortable. And once in a while, you know, I have people who really want that third person to be their new number one. And I don't ever remember any session in the records where they were told, oh yeah, that's part of your plan. It's the exact opposite. They say that person, you agreed to have somebody that you would know, that you would recognize, that you would listen to push you to make that move, to step up. And that move to step up might be, to step in the public eye, or to write a book, or to study more mysticism or more phenomenon. But it gets them on that road that they would not have stayed on or gone on without that stimulus. And once that's established, then the extra person takes off. They don't stick around.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up, as we got about 5 minutes here to go until our break at the bottom of the hour. That opens up a whole realm of different possibilities with the physicalness of sexuality and the ability to bond spiritually through sexual contact and physical contact with somebody. You know, I mean, so many people that I have met and talked privately with, because this isn't really a subject I bring on the air at all, really, the odd time, but not very often. But the idea of sexuality and people who are open more spiritually, I always find that those people have a troubles, if I could use that term, troubles in staying in a committed relationship, because they feel that they almost need to sow their wild oats with other spiritual beings of their ilk.
Well, that's news to me. That's really news to me. What I will say is the presence of the intimacy drives the energy higher if both souls are high-minded and not abusing the privilege of the sacredness of sex. So the record keepers don't judge people if they have an affair and it causes them to be a better partner to their existing spouse. Record keepers don't judge a person for making a mistake in doing the same thing. The record keepers want to support the evolution of humanity. So if you do something that threatens the success of your marriage, and you realize your mistake, oh my God, I almost lost everything, I'm so fortunate that I can try and rebuild this, that makes a person more aware of what they have, of what they almost lost, and it pulls them out of complacency. That would be the whole purpose of a third party, is to pull a person out of complacency, knowing that, if life is good and comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And I think where I'm going with that, and I probably worded it incorrectly a little bit there, I've noticed it with a lot of, more so, and maybe not people who are spiritually connected, but more so with people who have heavy extraterrestrial contact. A lot of them tend to say that, on the other side or wherever they are, that they've had different partners, different lovers outside of their spouse, so to speak.
Aha. Well, in that case, they're like the dolphins. The dolphins copulate with each other all over the place. And I think the dolphins are very closely tied to the ETs, the Syrians. So it is true that we have, our society, our Western ways, have created a lockdown on committed relationships that almost dictates or frowns on anything other than the prescribed formula of one husband and one wife. In other societies, even in certain African countries, for example, the teenagers are expected to experiment and fool around and have lots of experiences, and then they choose one mate and stick with that person, and that's that. But part of all this that's happening is to create a new place of thinking about oneself, about one's experiences, and to be able to observe others making their choices, whatever they are, and for us to look at that and say, well, that makes you happy, that floats your boat, go for it. And to not judge, because so much of what we're living in our life right now is built upon judgments that we have been, pigeonholed for. And I'll put myself right up front and say, I love fashion. I love pretty clothes. And I'm, looking in the magazines, what are they wearing this year? And a part of me says, well, who cares? But I do. I like that stuff.
I hear you there. I'm going to get you to hold that thought, because we can continue that right after the break here on Spaced Out Radio. Maureen St. Germain is our guest. Spiritual knowledge all night. Her website, MaureenSt.Germain.com. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio after this.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other. Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Good to have all of you with us. Reminder that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing we ask in return is you hit the subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can check them out while you're listening to the show. Tonight we are talking all things spiritual with Maureen St. Germain. Her website, MaureenSt.Germain.com. You can find all of her books on her website, as well as Amazon, where she is a bestseller. Maureen, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's been fun so far.
So far, so good. I got to tell you, though, I've got this foam on my microphone, and there's like a hair on there that I can't see that continues to, like, tickle my lips when I talk. Hate that. Hate when that happens. But right before the break, you were talking about a story. We were kind of going down a real personal road there regarding, intimacy and spirituality and the connection. And, it was more towards ET contact that I was trying to get to. But with that intimacy that people have, and take the sexual part out of it, Is there a close relationship and bond between people who may have never met, but when you look at somebody and you feel like you've known them 10 years, and I happened to meet a couple of people this past weekend when I was at UFO Con in San Francisco, and it's like I knew them forever. It was just like this incredible insta friendship. Does that have or let me ask it this way. Is that in regards to a spiritual connection or a past life connection that we are remembering?
Well, you're ready to be blown out of the water?
Sure.
If you have had a connection with someone the minute you look at them and you feel like you know them, and then when you start to talk to them, you have such a connection, it could very well be another version of you.
Okay. I was not expecting that.
That's why I said, are you ready to be blown out of the water? Now, I've been teaching this for a long time, that there's multiple versions of you. And, it's mind-boggling when you have this awareness. And, the first time I became aware of it, it was pretty mind-boggling. But I will tell you, there is a very well-known author, Walter Simkiew, Simkiew. He's a medical doctor. And one of my students, attended a lecture that he did many years ago. And she walked up to him and she said, one of the people I study with says there's multiple versions of the same person. And I want to know what your take is. Now, understand that Walter Simkiew wrote the book called Return of the Revolutionaries. And he maintains that Martha Washington, George Washington, Jefferson, Martha Jefferson, the whole gang is back in embodiment, and then he identifies who they are in real-time life. And J.K. Rowling was a famous author before she came into embodiment this lifetime. In case anybody's not following me, that is the author of this big series of books on Harry Potter. Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Simkiew says, I absolutely believe this. And then he proceeds to tell her a story that when he was lecturing in Hong Kong, a man came up to him, an Indian, and it turns out this man from India was also a doctor, both of them medical doctors. And they struck up a friendship, and they began to notice that they were both into the same things, except for a certain area of study that Dr. Simkiew had chosen to decenter from so he could focus more narrowly on this very specialized area that he was working in. Guess what? The other doctor had picked it up. And so now here's supposed to be a funny story to try and help people understand. All the versions of you are going to meet for coffee once a month. and you say, I don't want to take that gig. You want to take it? Yeah, you do it. Okay, and I'll show up there too. And so you actually have processes where you are exchanging information with other versions of you, not only here in 3D, but in other levels, and you're making sure you're covering what I would call it, what you came here to do. And so 1 soul, 4 expressions, or 5, like that. And there's a whole section in the book, Waking Up in 5D, where I explain, the similarities and the connections between people. One time, I had 2 men, both Japanese, coming on my trip. One lived in one lived in Seattle, and the other lived in New York. And one was a petite, smallish kind of man, and the other one was a tall, big-shouldered kind of guy, different lineages in Japan. And when they'd been in classes with me, each one had been in classes with me in those various cities, and I knew the minute that they both signed up that they were the same soul. Now, I don't go around telling them this, but they come to me on the trip. I made them roommates. That was a really nice idea. And they came to me and said, we figured out we're the same soul. Other times, we have some things that are just phenomenal. Like, I'm just going to make up a name, Mary Tompkins. We get a call from somebody named Mary Tompkins. She schedules a session with me. Then we get another email from Mary Tompkins, and she schedules a session. Pretty soon, the assistant has merged those 2 people into one and doesn't realize that she's working with 2 different Mary Thompsons. And why did they call it the same week? And why are they wanting it reading on the same day? And what's even more wild is, in one case, there was a woman, a Hispanic woman, who was living in New York, and her husband had taken a new job in Miami. And she was terrified to move to Miami because all her people were in New York. And so when this session came up and when all this, information landed, we finally figured, wait a minute, there's 2 of these women who have the same name. One lived in Miami. And I asked, am I to introduce them? And I was told yes. So now there was a bridge for one woman to work with another. And it doesn't mean you're going to stay best friends with these people forever. What it means is that they slide in and they might slide out once they've done what they came to do. But they are all on the same mission. And the mission could be varied, but, the people that you felt this big connection with, what were the things you guys had in common?
Interesting. All right, let's get to another question here from our audience here. And this one comes from Skywatcher once again, who is asking, when one dies and crosses over, why is it said that you will be reunited with your loved ones and family from the physical world?
Well, it depends upon who's telling you that story. If you want to come back and reincarnate, that's very likely the path that you'll be given. But you don't have to take that path. You can ask to go home to God. So why would you be told that you would be reunited? So that you will choose to go back into the earth and be part of a system that has been closed off to the rest of creation for a long time. So I tell people, if they're asking, when you die, don't necessarily go towards the white light. Don't necessarily go towards your relatives, because they could be mirages. They might not even be your relatives. And it might all be just so you will go back to that environment, and then you'll get recycled and come back. And you don't have to do that. You could choose to go straight home to God. There are people who choose to come back. That's a different message. When you choose to come back, either as a master or as a evolved being to help the rest of the earth people, that's a proactive choice. That's not the same as being set up to make decisions that you don't know all the details about. Like an uninformed decision. And this brings me to something else that a lot of people don't realize is there are a lot of ascended masters who are now in embodiment. A lot of little kids and a lot of adults. So if you are the parent to an ascended master, my first statement is, that's too bad. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because it is incredibly hard to be the parent of an ascended master because of two things. Number one, they don't need childhood. So they very often act out or do stuff. And the second thing is they're fearless because, again, they don't have anything to fear. They've already become a master. They already, even at a little age, intuitively know who they are.
I see. So
in the records, wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
In the records, so many parents have been told when they ask about their son or daughter, what can I do? What do I need to do here, to be a better parent? Things aren't working out so well. And the record keepers say your son or daughter is an ascended master, and you cannot expect to parent them like you parented your other children, or like your friends are parenting their kids. You need to choose to be in your spiritual connection at all times when you're parenting them. That the easiest way to do that is to ask for the mantle of the Divine Mother or the Divine Father over you when you are dealing with your children, because you can't use the traditional, I'll call it fear tactics, that parents use to get compliance, because it won't work. They're fearless. It's pretty crazy. So, and you don't know what to do. You truly don't know what to do when you're in those circumstances. The parents are smart and have resources, and they're still stymied. So when that happens, and it's happening a lot from my vantage point, the parent's ideal best-case scenario is to say a prayer every day. Help me to be the Divine Mother. Give me that mantle so that no matter what I'm thinking, the right thing comes out of my mouth.
I want to get into the sacred geometry here because recently I had something happen to me personally that I was shown a symbol back in January. Now, I haven't been able to find out what it is or what it's all about or anything like this, but it's kind of put me on a real interest of this and these shapes that are created regarding, the symbolic and sacred meanings of the spiritual world.
So you have seen a symbol? You saw it in your dream time, in a meditation? What?
It actually happened when I picked up the phone at 3:33 in the morning from a friend of mine, and I heard a dial tone go, doot, 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 and then all of a sudden my head was filled with luminescent colors and this symbol that was coming through. Yes.
Okay. So my interpretation is, especially because you do a lot of work with ET contactees, is to say to you, so a ship was contacting you, and they were sending you their insignia, so you would know it and be able to recognize it in the future.
Okay. Not what I expected.
Interesting.
You know,
sacred geometry. Yeah. Go ahead.
I would definitely get a tattoo of it. That's for sure.
Well, if you're not going to wear it on your shirt, you may as well wear it on your skin.
Exactly. So my question is to you, for people who aren't sure what sacred geometry is, could you give us a definition of it?
Yeah, sacred geometry is a complex term that defines a form of geometry that is related to creation. And it's related to creation in terms of number and replication. So we start with a cube. And a cube is considered part of this sacred geometry set of the Platonic solids. But everybody knows what a cube is because we're used to ice cubes or something like that. So a cube has 4 corners. All corners have the same angle. And all the faces are the same size. And there are only 5 shapes that fit that description that have the same angle, the same size face, and if you put a stick into the middle of it, you could spin it and inscribe a sphere. So initially, the idea of sacred geometry was to begin to understand this concept of creation and this idea that you cannot create without a boundary. The painter has his canvas. The farmer has his field. If you have no boundary, you can't create because there's no difference between here and there. So the first boundary is a circle or a sphere. And the idea is that from the center, all edges are equidistant. And when you move that center point to that edge of the sphere, and you make what it already knows, another sphere, you have formed the first shape in sacred geometry known as the vesica piscis, which is that almond shape that shows up when 2 circles intersect at their center. And then the whole system of sacred geometry builds around that premise and produces these 5 Platonic solids. And they just so happen to be related to chemistry, to the DNA, to plants, to the relationship between the sun and Venus and the earth. Excuse me.
That's very interesting. And it's funny because as we're talking, I have a very well-known scientist who I got to meet this past weekend, who's texting me, listening into you, saying, you are nailing it in regards to this. You might have to turn your microphone off mute.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that nice compliment.
No
problem. I muted when I was coughing. I'm curious about your symbol, and I wonder if you could find it in a crop circle.
I haven't. I have a couple people looking into it for me.
Cool. Well, it'll be fun to find out. But I dare say it's your logo for the ship that you're attached to and connected to in some way. You may have another version of you on the ship. Yeah, keep doing it. You're rocking it. You're rocking it, Dave.
Oh, yes, because, I love me some aliens. Love me some ET talk,
Mm-hmm.
Just float myself out there, my uber conscience out there, and let the aliens just do as they will to it. Oh. Funny part about it is I know Mr. Scientist right now who's listening in is probably going to have a good laugh with that. But
yeah.
in regards to the symbolic nature, how does it all connect from the ET level to the spiritual level to the consciousness level? Is it all one?
Creation is all one. But we allow for deviation for variety's sake, for the sake of adding to the database, for the sake of experience.
Okay.
If you look at the idea that we're all one and we're all part of a greater whole, and there was unity there, we wouldn't want to leave. So we pretended
that we could separate from the inseparable. We pretended to forget so that we could add to the database, so we could add experience, because you cannot create without a way to encircle it. And so you literally separate from that which is inseparable. And it's a game to explore and expand who we really are. So it isn't true that every experience that we've ever had has been experienced before in another time or another place. It's more likely that we've had similar experiences and we're trying it this way or trying it that way. You know, some people are so creative, let's say in the kitchen, that they never fix the same meal twice. And one day one of my sons said to me, "Mom, could we have this again? Because I really like it." And it was the first time that I was aware, self-aware, that whenever I made something, it was never the same. But it was true. I would use what was in the house. I would use whatever I had as, accoutrements to the recipe I was working with, or the thing I was making that was a casserole or a dish, and I would use what was available in my refrigerator. And it was not always the same. So we seek that which is familiar because we seek to be connected to one another, to be connected to our source. But our prime directive is to explore and create.
So with that, as we only got about 45 seconds here before we go to break, does that mean that we are actually harming ourselves with the way we live our everyday lives? You know, we're trapped by mortgages, jobs, car payments, insurance payments, health care. We're trapped.
Nobody's trapped. It's a choice. It's always a choice. You just don't like the alternatives. So you choose that. There are people without health insurance. There are people driving cars that don't have car insurance. You know, we know this is true. There are people living in houses that don't belong to them and not paying. So we're not trapped. We choose because we're choosing this alternative over the other because we want to have a house. If we were comfortable living in a teepee, we would do that.
True. On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we have Maureen St. Germain for another half hour on Spaced Out Radio. Then we'll get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Hour 3 of SOR coming up right after this.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, Space Travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, CHIVE Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thielen. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefoot?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblelicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at CHIVE.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour is underway tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi to everyone listening in Ridgecrest, California on KZFX 93.7 FM. UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDNF AM 1560 in Daingerfield, Texas, and KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. On the digital side, we're proud to broadcast on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Remember, check out all of our archives. They are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nanization. Nanization is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night. Join the Space Travelers for $5 a month, and Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Maureen St. Germain. Her website, MaureenSt.Germain.com. I highly suggest you check it on out. And Maureen, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about tonight was about learning about your higher self. How do we find our higher self?
Well, I developed a very simple protocol where I teach people how to connect to the higher self in a meditation, and then they get to play with their higher self for 6 weeks. And in that process, they develop a rapport and an understanding of how their higher self communicates. And at the end of that time period, they quit playing around and they go for the real stuff. And I kind of say this a little tongue-in-cheek to imply that it is easy and it is fun, and it also gives incredible results. At the beginning of the show, I was saying how my assistant, who wasn't into this stuff, but she did practice this higher self connection, and she continues to use it today, even though she doesn't even work for me anymore, and she works in a dental office. This connection is easily found by getting a symbol or signal for yes or no or neutral. And I usually guide people through a meditation and ask them to, I take them into a place of their heart and then connect with the inner energy, and then we take that energy and we move it up past the throat chakra and the third eye and the crown chakra, and we take it higher, and then we connect with that higher self and bring it in, and then we invite the higher self to communicate with us with these three simple words: yes, no, and neutral. And I'll tell you a funny story. One time when I did this with a group, one of the women said, my ears started to itch. And I tried to calm my body down, and then my toes started to itch. And I'm waiting for my signal, and suddenly my whole body starts to itch. And I said to myself, okay, I'll take the itchy ear. And the woman sitting across from her in this big classroom, said the same thing happened to me. So your yes signal could be something as simple as your ear itching or your throat tightening. Very common no signal is a sinking in your gut. That oh man, that kind of sinking. Or a lot of people get neutral as a flat line, like the horizon. But it doesn't matter what your signal is. What matters is you get a signal and then you work with it. So you ask for the signal by doing a meditation. You write it down what you got, because tomorrow you won't believe it. So you got to reinforce yourself in the moment. And then every day you ask unimportant questions. Questions that you are willing to take action on, that you don't care about, one way or the other. So if you really don't care whether you eat green beans or spinach, you ask your higher self. Higher self, am I to have green beans? No. Am I to have spinach? No. Am I supposed to eat anything? No. Then you know. Okay, fine, I'm not eating. One day, a woman came to class. This goes back to me talking about fashion. She was dressed in a very peculiar way. And I'm sure you've noticed this, Dave, that when there are women in a group, we tend to look each other over, not to be critical, but to learn. Oh, I like that outfit. I wonder where she got that. I like her purse. It's that kind of stuff. A little bit of admiration. So this woman, dressed in a very peculiar way, noticed she was getting that look. And she looked at this woman, she shook her finger at her and said, "Don't even ask. My higher self dressed me today." And of course everybody cracked up because she was willing to play. So she had this strange combination of jewelry and a shirt that wasn't exactly the best combination with the skirt she wore. I don't remember now, but it was very funny at the time. And that's the kind of play we're talking about. You're willing to do it either way. You're driving to work. There's many routes to take. You ask, is it my highest and best good to take this route? No. My highest and best good to take this route? Yes. Later you find out there was a tie-up. And what happens over the course of the 6 weeks is the information that's coming in on what was seemingly unimportant proves that your higher self was always right. The higher self was always giving you the best answer. So pretty soon, you have a history that shows you that your higher self is always right. Now, how do you and I make decisions? We make them based on history. If we're going to buy something, we look it up in Consumer Reports, we read reviews online, we talk to our friends. It's all data. It's all historical data. Our ego wants to keep us safe. Our ego wants us to get what we want. When you do this practice for 6 weeks, you are deliberately skirting the ego because you're not asking about anything important. Your ego doesn't care about unimportant stuff. Your ego only wants to keep you safe. So when you ask about stuff you don't care about, your ego is more in the background. That's a good thing because now you can hear your higher self. The reason people don't hear their higher self clearly when they try to learn is they're either asking questions that they do care about and they're testing, or the thing that they care about is so strong that they can't even follow what they're given. So that's why you practice for 6 weeks with rubber bullets. You don't need to have them go anywhere or do anything. You're just playing around. And what happens is you develop your own database of history that your higher self is always right. And that's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is you get a lot of benefit that you hadn't realized you could get. You ask, am I to go to this restaurant? No. This restaurant? No. This restaurant? Yes. Really? I heard that was a dive. Go. So you go and you run into somebody you've been looking for. Or you ask your higher self, am I to go to the airport at this time? No. This time? No. 2 hours early? Yes. Oh, man. It turns out your flight was canceled, but you could get on an earlier flight because you were there early. Stuff like that starts to happen on these simple, unimportant questions in the moment they seem unimportant, but they turn out to have been pivotal in some opportunity or some expression of what you needed, and your ego begins to join in and realize that your higher self's always right. Now, what happens is after you finish your 6 weeks, you can ask your higher self anything. You can ask about important stuff. Now, when you ask about important stuff, you're going to have a day where you don't want to do what your higher self is saying, so you don't, and then you come to regret it. And my rub or my joke with people is, you'll only do that once because you have such a good track record when you do the practice consistently for 6 weeks, and we're talking 40 or 50 questions a day for 6 weeks. At the end of that cycle, you can have 100% accuracy. So then when you don't follow your higher self that one time over something that you felt determined to do, and you see how it didn't turn out the way you had wanted, and you should have followed your higher self, you'll say, that's it, I'm fine. I'm just going to follow my higher self. Very powerful. Anybody who wants more information, if they will email me, I will be happy to send them a data set that'll help them, get their arms around it. And I do put this protocol in any of my books. So if you've read my books or you have them, it'll be in those as well. I think it's the most important thing you could learn. Bar none.
I have a question coming in from Skywatcher, who is asking, is intuition a way that your higher self can communicate with you, or is it a window to the fourth dimension and time?
I like the question. I'm going to turn it around and say intuition is like the word Kleenex. It refers to any brand. So intuition could be what he said. It could also be your higher self. Intuition would be the global term that's come into common usage. Your higher self is a very specific energy that's part of you.
Okay.
So that's why you want to work with your higher self, because every one of us are going to become our higher self. That's where we're going. A being who is an ascended master has merged his human self with his higher self. And that's what all of us are doing. And we're not going to have to die to do it either.
Well, what kind of changes do we notice in ourselves when we get in touch with our higher self?
Well, I guess I'd like to answer it once you've mastered your higher self connection. The changes that occur is that you're more peaceful about every decision that you do make. And you have a sense of wonder, because a lot of times you're asking about something that you wonder if it's going to turn out okay. I had doubts about my husband that I married, but my higher self was very clear. So I did. I found out later there were, very valid reasons why there were doubts, but that's another matter.
So with that, it's all about using your intuition as a first thought of choice rather than second-guessing yourself.
Again, I would say that intuition is the generic word, higher self is the specific word. So when you use your higher self, then you don't have to second-guess yourself. That is true.
Do we meditate the same way to try and reach that goal? How do we know when we are there?
Well, that's why you have to practice for 6 weeks, because you don't. People expect that they should have this instantaneous, light shining on them and they know, or that they can see their higher self, or that they can, have sentence conversations with their higher self. And it is true that people do have that on occasion, but it isn't the norm. The norm is we have created a blockade that we must break through. And the blockade is because it's part of what we have chosen for ourselves so that we would experience duality. We would experience the separation from all that is, so that we would decide we wanted to get that back. That's using free will. That is the experience. So when you learn to follow your higher self, what happens is you have a sense. You don't even have to do it when you're in meditation. You know, I was driving down the road with somebody one time in Atlanta, and she said, "There's two ways to get to the airport. You know, we're running pretty late. Which one should we take?" And before she could give me a choice, I said, "I think it's Highway 30." Oh, that was one of my choices. Okay, I'll take it. You know, that fast. My higher self, one time when I was still working in the corporate world and I was trying to get an article in the newspaper, I tried to call the reporter all day. No success. 5 minutes till 5, I get a clear message: call the guy. I don't want to call the guy. I got to get home. Call the guy. My kids are waiting. I got to get dinner on. Call the guy. So I did. Now you'll notice that once you have your higher self connection, you might argue with it. You might say, "I don't want to do that." But your higher self will be persistent when it knows when you have created that relationship. It's just like when you have a best friend and you give them permission to tell you when you're out of line. And so they tell you. And they are persistent about it. So in my case, when that happened, I called the guy. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Maureen, how could you possibly know I would be here at this hour? I am never here at this hour." All I could do was laugh. I'm not going to tell him how I knew. And by the way, my story made the front page.
Nice. If there is a higher self, is there a lower self? Asking for April.
Yes, there is. And the lower self is the part of us that is our emotions, our desire body, our experiences, the part of us that wants ice cream, you know, that's the lower self. And the lower self isn't a bad guy either. The lower self is part of our ego is part of the lower self, because the ego wants us to be safe and happy, but the lower self can also want things that the ego knows not to have, you know, whatever that might be. So, yeah, there is a lower self. It's a child in us, really.
Is that where our own personal darkness comes from?
I don't know. You know, I'd like to think that our personal darkness comes from the areas in which we think we have failed, that we've either let ourselves down or someone else. And we don't want to look at that, so it becomes dark. And truly, anything that we have shame around becomes our darkness. So it's shame that drives the darkness. You know, when my first marriage ended, I was married 25 years the first time, and when it ended, I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed. I thought it was the most humiliating thing that could ever happen to somebody, and that I was, I just felt horrible about it. I wasn't a good person anymore. And I never recall judging anyone else who was divorced. I just felt this horrible, deep shame. I mean, you can even hear it in my voice right now. And I remember at a workshop that I was attending, we were instructed, tell your partner, your new partner in the moment, you know, this person you're assigned to work this out, the thing that you're most ashamed of. And when I told this guy, a stranger, that I was so ashamed of being divorced, he looked at me and said, "That's nothing." And he just laughed. And it shook my world, but it made me realize, I don't have to be ashamed of that. I don't have to be ashamed of anything. And neither does anybody else. Shame is a way to be controlled by the biases of the people around us, by the structure or strictness of religion, by the society that wants us to operate a certain way so that we can be controlled. So that's where I think darkness comes from. Our darkness, our shadow, is our shame.
And that little voice in our head that tries to steer us the right way, where's that come from?
I think that's the wisdom channel that you might call intuition, and I will say it is intuition, and it could be your higher self. It could be your angels. It could be your grandma's checking up on you that's passed away. So it can take on many forms, but there is a very specific path to the higher self from where anyone is at. That connection, they can get it, and they can use it to make decisions about what they are to do. It's very amazing. And my book, it changes everything, yeah.
We have about just over a minute and 30 seconds left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and I am very thankful, Maureen, to have you back on the air with us and to explain as much about the spiritual knowledge as you possibly could tonight. You have a number of books out there and a great website. Let people know where they can find your books and where your next speaking engagement is.
Okay, so my books are available on Amazon.com and at all major bookstores. Excuse me. I also have created a huge line of guided meditation CDs, everything from a prayer before surgery to a prayer to call in your angels, and all kinds of other kinds of CDs like Sell Your Home Faster, practical mystic stuff. My website is MaureenSt.Germain.com, MaureenStGermain.com. We do have a form you can fill out if you have questions or you want to reach out to me. I am taking a group to Egypt starting March 19th to April 1st. If you've ever wanted to go to Egypt, we've only got a few spaces left, and I can make it worth your while if you really want to go. Let's see, what else? I am going to be speaking at a conference in Las Vegas with 5D events.
Nice.
And that's going to start on April 2nd. So the minute I get back from Egypt, I'm going to go right to Vegas.
Nice. Nice. Maureen, I got to let you go right there because we got music on. Thank you so much, MaureenStGermain.com. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. More Spaced Out Radio right after this.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblelicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the CHIVE and CHIVE Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiener. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for each and every one of you joining us. Want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, do a little shopping at the SOR Vault, grab a great book from We Read the Night, join the Space Travelers as well. Captain Shirk has you all up to date on the SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news, let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we'll get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and that's downright frustrating sometimes. A Colorado condominium owner said that she has had to spend hundreds of dollars and lost about 2 months' worth of rent in an effort to evict squatters who left behind dirty underwear, dirty dishes, a snake, and many sex toys. Yes, Sarah Feldman says that after a tenant broke their lease, another woman moved in without her knowledge and refused to leave. She was being difficult. She didn't want to leave, Feldman said. There was her and two guys I've never seen before. After a month, Feldman got a lawyer and obtained a writ from the Denver Sheriff's Department to evict the squatters. There were guys' underwear all over the place. It was really disgusting, she says. There were sex toys found in the condo, heaven forbid, as well. I did not want to touch that. The squatters also left behind stained carpets and even a snake in a cage with no lid. Aside from the rent loss, Feldman had to pay her legal fees, $150 for the writ, and the cost of fixing the damage left by the squatters. The Denver Sheriff's Department said it receives a high number of squatting eviction requests and is backlogged because of limited resources, according to the station. A Michigan man was attacked by his samurai sword-wielding partner last month after he allegedly didn't buy marijuana for the suspect. Neil Patrick Wazinski was hit with various assault charges back on January 18th, 2 days after allegedly punching the victim's ribcage and stabbing him with a 21-inch sword inside the suspect's apartment. Still armed with the bloody sword, Wazinski chased the 23-year-old victim into the parking lot before they both took refuge in their separate apartments, the victim said. Police were called to the scene around noon on January 16th when they found the victim smoking a cigarette while holding a bloody towel to his side. He suffered multiple stab wounds to his arm and torso and was taken to a local hospital in critical condition, but he has since recovered. The victim said he was Wazinski's boyfriend of 1.5 years and claimed his partner decided to attack him after he failed to buy him some pot. Officers returned to Wazinski's apartment where he refused to open the door. Eventually, they took Wazinski outside where the suspect spat on one of the officers. That's never any good. Wazinski was charged with assault with intent to murder, assault with a dangerous weapon, and assaulting or resisting a police officer. The intent to murder charge was reportedly dismissed after Wazinski pleaded no contest to the other charges during a February 13th hearing. Police referred to Wazinski as a female, but court and voting records listed the suspect as a male. Okay. A popular blogger came up with a creative way to deliver a message to her followers. Don't believe everything you see on social media. What? People lie on social media? It's not just about food pictures and cat photos anymore? Natalia Taylor posted a series of photos on her Instagram account where she seems to be enjoying an exotic vacation in Bali. But later, she revealed that they weren't that at all. Not what it seemed, definitely. Her first post was with a Bali location caption, "The Queen has arrived," and shows Taylor in what seems to be a glamorous setting. Other photos showed her lounging in a luxurious bath and prepping to pop a bottle of champagne. In a video she later posted to YouTube, she revealed the Instagram photos were all fictitious. In reality, she was posing in different sections of a nearby IKEA. So many influencers nowadays have actually been caught in the act of pretending to be at a destination when they really weren't. And it's either just Photoshop or it's not even them, she said. The video shows her walking around different IKEA setups and posing for multiple photos as customers continue furniture shopping around her. Oh my goodness. Based on the comments under her Instagram photos, it appears her trick worked. Followers really believe she was in Bali. She really is out there living her best life, one person wrote. The point of the video, she says, is to see if you can really fake it until you make it, Taylor said on YouTube. Don't believe everything you see on the gram. A mysterious stench once again struck parts of Delaware County in Pennsylvania this week, overwhelming residents with its pungent odor and it's baffling investigators. The smell has recently been reported in towns across the county, including Glenolden, Tinicum, and Upper Darby, just outside of Philadelphia. While no one knows what the elusive smell is or where it's coming from, residents have described it as fuel-like. It's like a sulfur smoky, Glenolden resident Terry Peldham says. As soon as I got out of the car, I could smell it. Sulfur, hold on. That's paranormal. They've got demons there. We've solved the case. They have demons. It was overwhelming, Diana says. I was afraid to smoke. Oh, my goodness. She was afraid to light it up. I was like, where is this coming from? What? And I literally thought the gas main had broken. No, you got demons, lady. Another Glenolden resident, Michael, speculated that it could be coming from the nearby creek or from some sewage. Delaware County residents have reported the smell wafting in and out of neighbors' hoods over the last several months. Last October, the smell shut down several businesses and a school in Chester before striking Brookhaven. Yeah, the most recent stench is consistent with past reports, according to officials, but investigators still cannot find the source. Tim Boyce, Director of Emergency Services for Delaware County, called it the whodunit factor. The challenge we're up against when you're on the ground level is the wind can be blowing in different directions depending on where you are. By the time someone gets to where the report came from, it might not smell there anymore. Investigators have been looking at local industrial facilities and pipelines in the area, but have yet to find a culprit, the paper has reported. The Odor Investigation Task Force, yes, they have one there. A collaboration of agencies from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware is helping with the investigation. Demons, people. It's demons. If you got sulfur, you got demons. That's just the way it is. Okay, you know how I like a good beard and mustache. Well, this isn't a good report. No. Men with beards are now being warned that their facial hair could prove hazardous in the spread of coronavirus. Yeah. Shave. Well, don't really. Just wash. Insensitively. Just wash. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has issued an infographic warning that facial hair may play havoc with the effectiveness of breathing respirators. Side whiskers, soul patches, lampshades, and handlebar mustaches get the green light, but trendy styles like stubble, a full beard, the dolly's tash, and mutton chops need to go. Shave them. However, the breathing respirators, the advice applies are to mainly only be used by the risk of health professionals, said the CDC. Masks and breathing respirators, which are mostly to be worn indoors, are selling around the world to prevent the spread of the disease, which has reached more than 80,000 cases now globally. Yeah, facial hair poses a risk to the effectiveness of respirators because it may keep parts from working properly if the two come into contact. No matter the style choice, facial hair should not cross the respirator sealing surface, if advised. A goatee, horseshoe, what the hell is a horseshoe? And a villain's mustache are okay, with caution, the infographic noted. However, the information is being mocked by social media users. This hullabaloo about the new coronavirus has been all well and good until you go and tell my husband to shave his beard. I'm looking at you, CDC, one person said. Now those are fighting words, Twitter users have said. Yeah, well, this is getting ugly. You can't tell a man to shave his goatee, his power stash. Could you imagine Uncle Dale having to lop off his power stash? That's not fair. Or what about Kevin and Kevin's beard in the chat room? There's no way Kevin's getting rid of that manly beard. One person on Twitter, Denny, said, I am 100% convinced the CDC made up some of these facial hairstyles. Where did French fork come from? While Carl Hughes added, the CDC has really helped me out today. After all these years of thinking I had a goatee, they have identified it as a circle beard. The CDC has issued a list of facial hairstyles that are compatible with filtering face masks, Peter says. I regret to inform you that you are not allowed to make fun of my mask-safe soul patch when it arrives. Who likes lobster out there? Well, in the state of Maine, lobsters have long delighted tourists as the state's most beloved seafood. But now one company thinks the crustaceans can save human lives by providing their blood for use in new drugs. The effort, involving a longtime lobster scientist, wouldn't be the first example of coastal invertebrates being used to aid human health. Horseshoe crabs are harvested because of their blood containing a protein that is used to detect contamination in medical products. A different startup company in Maine announced in 2016 that it would start to develop a bandage coated with a substance extracted from crushed lobster shells. And the U.S. Army has made use of field bandages treating with a blood clotting compound processed from shrimp cells. The company working on the Lobster Blood Project, Lobster Unlimited, of Orono, is investigating whether lobster blood can be used as a potential weapon against viruses and cancer. Representatives with the company say the results are promising. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office issued them a patent in late October related to their work. The blood is easy to come by because it's a byproduct of lobster processing, company head Robert Bayer said. Lobster blood is likely a long way from playing a new role in drugs, but there is no question it has antiviral and anti-cancer properties based on research needed to apply for the patent. Right now, this blood is literally thrown out onto the floor and goes down the drain, said Bayer, a professor emeritus of animal and veterinary scientists at the University of Maine. We could collect millions of pounds of it, which make it a viable product worth pursuing. Now, the company proposes to use compounds derived from hemolymph, which is a lobster circulatory fluid, to improve human health and possibly the health of other mammals. Lobsters Unlimited's looking for partners in the pharmaceutical industry to work with on developing these drugs. All right, let's move on here. A 60-year-old surfer said he escaped from a great white shark off the coast of New Zealand by repeatedly punching it in the eye. Oh, man. Sharks again. Yeah, Nick Minogue, no relation to Kylie that we know of, wasn't doing the locomotion, but he was surfing at Pauanui Beach around 11:30 on Saturday morning when a 10-foot great white shark bit the front of his surfboard. I was quite a long way out. There was quite a solid swell running. I was just paddling along and got hit on the side of my elbow and forearm, Minogue says. By the time I realized what was going on, its teeth were definitely latched onto the front section of the board. Minogue said he decided to fight the attacking predator, so I actually shouted to F off. Yeah, apparently that didn't work, so he punched it in the eye and missed. He then says, I pulled my fist back and shouted, F off again. Somehow the shark just didn't understand that. Okay? And then he punched it again, right in the eye. It was quite a big eye, about 3 knuckles across, and its eye kind of looked up and rolled up. Oh, that one stung. There's a great white out there right now with a black eye. The surprised shark let go of Minogue's board, allowing him to paddle back to shore. Minogue said he was lucky to escape with a shallow cut to his arm. He said the shark's teeth made 2 punctures in his wetsuit, but only one broke the skin. Now, shark experts confirmed the bite mark on Minogue's board appears to have been made definitely by a great white shark. And finally tonight, let's get to it. A shoplifting Florida man attempted to flee a Dealand store stripping naked as multiple steaks fell out of his pants. Yeah, the manager of the Save-A-Lot store in Deland confronted 28-year-old Stephen Short of David, Florida, when he and his store patron saw him stuffing the meat into his pants. The manager attempted to restrain the Florida man, but he wiggled free, ran out of the store, and began taking off his clothes, leaving a trail of steaks on the floor. Police spotted Short running out of the store naked, and when he refused to stop, he got tased. No word where they tased him. According to police, he stole 4 packs of ribeyes valued at $41. He was charged with resisting an officer without violence and first-degree petty theft. So much for the steak dinners. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because, well, we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What's your thoughts on the subject of consciousness? James. It's a filter. Barry. It binds us to the holographically distributed information universe. Caden. That's too many people use it as an umbrella to bash others. However, the true meaning behind it is peaceful and a way to look at life in a more positive way. Kelly, I think it's an interesting story. However, I do think that it just adds another layer of data needed for proof of anything in the paranormal field. Not that it's a bad thing. It's one more thing that needs to be researched on an unbiased and logical way. Wing, I'm aware of being aware. Therefore I am. Evan, let me think about that. Russell, consciousness is at the center of the newly emerging scientific paradigm. The old scientific paradigm viewed consciousness as an emergent epiphenomena of matter. Although many did not receive the memo, this is proven false. Then science evolved into ontic pan-computation. What the hell is this word? Pan-computationalism? Computationalism? Pan-computationalism? Computationalism. Okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, it's garbage. Anyways, he goes on to say science is forced to acknowledge that, just as the mystics have told us all along, mind is, in fact, ontologically primitive. Jade, it's best not to think too much. Just be. Just be. Landon, consciousness is an attribute of all living things. That being said, everything in our universe has consciousness. Understanding how to use consciousness to manifest reality is understanding how our thoughts shape or direct really from the dimensions outside of time, space, and create really as we know it. Everett, I'm not a fan. Jeremy, I don't really know, but I have really no fear of dying. All right. Ron, the period between sleep and the first morning sip of the 40-ounce coffee. Jade again, it matters not. Penman, I think, therefore I am. Kevin, can God, such as she exists, learn? If yes, then that is source of biological consciousness. Kind of interesting there. Moving on. David, it's the first thing I know exists. I stop and recognize I am experiencing something right now. I'm conscious of something. What that exactly means might lose something when we put it into words, but consciousness, experience, awareness, it exists wherever it is. Kevin, God ultimate, God highest yet conceived, plus the sum of everything still unlearned. The purpose of living things to live so that God can learn. Therefore, we are conscious. Yvonne, in near-death experiences, it's alive and well, taking in the experience. Karen, I'm so sorry. Didn't matter how I wrote that, but it sounds a little crazy. I know it's true. Park, if consciousness is the general public subconscious, are the gossips and the people with interesting stuff more conscious? There's the question of the night. Wow. Just wow. Anyhow, I want to say a big thank you to everybody taking part in today's Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. And, of course, we look forward to reading your responses on the air. We also give thanks to Captain Shirk. She's not feeling well these days. She's got that cold, but she put together a great newscast. Thank you, Captain. And, of course, to Maureen St. Germain for being our guest tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody in our chat rooms on Spreaker, Facebook, Revolution Radio, LGAB, the SOR Space Travelers covered our website, and of course, the Snarkers and Snarkettes hanging out on Twitter tonight at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You know who you are. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for sharing your evening with us tonight, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everyone. David Weatherly, tomorrow night. Black-eyed children, ghosts, UFOs, aliens, you name it. David will have his top hat on it. Tomorrow night. We'll see you there. Good night.